Hello and welcome to another Tuesday Talk with Ruby Reese. My name is Killian. I'm co-founder at Ruby Reese and at dognutrition.ie, and I'll also be your host for this podcast episode. This week we're talking about a topic that's really exciting and keeps coming up as a brilliant tool for working with our dogs, for training our dogs, for dealing with maybe potential issues with our dogs, and just something really that they enjoy doing and how they definitely navigate the world. And that is all about scent work and using our dog's sense of smell in our day-to-day lives. And just before we pop into that, I wanted to talk a little bit about, number one, the amazing expertise that we have here in Ireland in the dog community. And obviously I can't express often enough and loud enough my absolute appreciation for everyone that comes on and has prepared a topic and wants to chat to me and to share with you a wider community a little bit about what they know. And lifelong learning is something that I'm really passionate about. It's very clear to me that I don't know everything, that I will never know everything, and that's okay. But I think it's great for me to have this position where I can preach to the choir, because all of you that are regularly listening in are also must be the type of people that realize that nobody knows everything, and that we all kind of are hungry to learn more. And I think talking about knowing everything or being able to talk about everything, these podcast episodes are short, and I think I speak with every guest after we've recorded, and they all say, oh, I forgot to bring in this example now that I really wanted to bring up and help to explain this one specific part of that topic. And these episodes are short, and it's just an introduction, and I'm so privileged to have a great community like you guys listening in and joining in as well and sharing your knowledge, your thoughts, your opinions. It's really fantastic, and none of us needs to know everything. None of us will ever know all there is to know in the world, and that's okay. And we definitely won't be able to squash it all into, say, 30 or 40 minutes on a podcast. So I think we just all need to appreciate that we're all giving it our best shot here. We're all trying to learn a bit more, and I love to see the listenership on this podcast growing kind of week on week as well. So you guys must be sharing it with your friends, different episodes that's going to help them. So for that, we appreciate you so much. Now, without further ado, and with so much appreciation, we have Darina from Polaris coming on to join us yet again on the podcast format to share some knowledge all about dogs' noses and how they explore the world with those, and how we can use their nose to, in our day-to-day lives, and to keep them happy and healthy and engaged with us. So now I invite you to listen into the chat that I had with Darina. Darina, welcome back to the podcast. How are you doing?
Hi, thanks for having me back. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Would you do us the pleasure of introducing yourself for anyone that doesn't know you yet?
Yeah, my name is Darina, and I am professionally known as Polaris Dog Training. I have 3 lurchers myself, and I've been training now for about 10 years. And I am fully accredited with the IMDT and the WSDA, which is the World Scent Dog Association.
Amazing. Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. And if anyone is interested as well, we're going to be talking a little bit today probably about some enriching topics and things like that. We spoke about some really cool topics way back about a year ago. So right back in the very early episodes, you'll find 2 episodes by Darina as well. So if anyone's listening to this and likes the sound of this, you can go back and check out those as well. It's nice to do a bit of cross-pollination between the episodes.
Yeah, a little bit of a shout out for an old rep.
Exactly. So today you picked a really cool topic to talk about. We're going to talk all about scent training. What exactly is scent training, and how does it work with dogs?
So scent training is a type of dog sport in which we teach our dogs to find and locate a target odor. So this can take form in many different ways. So the particular one that we're going to be talking about today is scent detection, but there's lots of different variations of scent training. So like there's man trailing, there's tracking, There's barn hunt, which is like for terriers and stuff like that. But the particular one we're going to be talking about today is like scent detection, which would be very similar to what we would see customs dogs doing in the airport and at the ferry ports. So,
Which is a really cool introduction, right? Because we already have an image in our mind now of what the dogs do in a working scenario.
yeah, exactly. So we do the pet dog variant of this. So a lot of the time, like for customs dogs, so they would be trained to seek out certain specific scents, so whether they're a drug dog or looking for a particular contraband coming in and out of the country. So we do the pet dog version because it's very difficult to get large stacks of cash to train your dog on. So, so we use red Kong. So Kong that most dogs would be accustomed to. So we use like pieces of red Kong, or then we'd use a specific scent, which would be Napier gun oil. So depending on where the dog's level of skill is, we would progress on usually from red Kong to gun oil.
And I've heard something in the past, I don't know how true it is or not, but gun oil is used quite often because of tradition, really, isn't it? That people traditionally would have had gun oil hanging around when they were training.
I actually don't know. It's just because I'm part of the SDA. That's one of the scents that would be part of the competition. That's the reason I use it. A lot of people, like, depending on where they learn their scent work, they would use stuff like clove oil or birch oil. In particular, I just use gun oil. It's easier to access. So.
Yeah,
I don't mind the smell of it myself. I quite like it.
But presumably it's mostly tradition, and because
Probably,
obviously then there's organizations that are using it. But you could train a dog technically to sniff anything out, right?
Yeah. So like a lot of people, you can just use food. You can literally pick a specific target odor. So like my own dog, so Nico, who I talked about in the predation episode, I'm going to talk a lot about him in this episode too. So Nico's trained on 4 different scents. So he's trained on Kong, he's trained on gun oil, he's trained on catnip, and he's trained on rabbit scent. The rabbit scent is kind of one that we fluctuate. We don't do that too much because it smells like real rabbits, so it gets him quite excited. But we primarily focus on the gun oil and the catnip. But they would be 2 slightly different versions of scent detection. So for the gun oil, we'd be looking for more of a stationary indication. So when he finds it, he points out the location of the scent with his nose and he hovers over it and he doesn't move until he gets rewarded. For the catnip, though, it's usually retrievals. So that will be hidden somewhere and he has to find it and bring it back. So very similar to what you would see a lot of gun dogs doing. So like harken back to a lot of gun dog training. Where they would find a dummy or a real life animal where that would be shot. They would search for that and they would retrieve it and bring it back to their handler.
And you mentioned it's 2 different types of training. So does the dog see these as 2 very separate processes, or is this kind of one, let's say, one sequence that it just doesn't finish when he's hovering over the one type?
So we do train them differently. So a lot of people would probably find the catnip one a little bit easier to do because a lot of people would do that anyway with a tennis ball, where they would have a tennis ball and they would throw it and hide it and send their dog out to search for it. And when the dog brings it back, they get an extra reward. So very similar to that. And that is actually essentially how we train the catnip toy. However, we're not going to get too technical about, like I'm all like about, making sure that your equipment stays clean and there's less contamination, stuff like that. So when we're training with the catnip toys, I use fleece toys and they would be sitting in an airtight jar with a little tub of catnip. So they smell of the catnip and I will never touch those toys with my bare hands. I only ever touch them with gloved hands. And once we use it once, that needs to be washed without detergent and then we permeate it again once it's all dried out with the catnip. So that would be a little bit more strict, whereas the gun oil is a little bit different. So we would essentially train our dogs. With the catnip one, it's a bit more of a game. So it's a lot more play orientated. Whereas with the gun oil one, it's a little bit more structured because we want them to find and hover over that exact location, like I said. And how we would train it, you basically just build up duration. So very similar to a lot of dogs would know how to do a nose boop with people's hands. So we essentially train that. We start off with a coin, which is a neutral smell. It has so much dirt and debris on it. We're never going to accidentally train them how to search for a coin because coins kind of smell of everything and nothing. So we
Yeah.
essentially we start with a coin and we teach them how to hover their nose over the coin, and we build up the duration of them hovering their nose over the coin, and then we transfer that from that to the target scent. And then they learn how to do the same behavior with the target scent, but at that point any errors should kind of be gone, because we've trained them to do we've trained them basically to do the movement of the behavior before we've introduced the scent, and then we actually teach them to search completely separately all over again.
Yeah.
Which is very easy. A lot of people, again, would do this at home, where you might hide a piece of ham in the house or hide a piece of ham in your garden, and you send your dog off to search for it. And that's the starter of how we would train a target scent.
That is really exciting. And like, now that you're saying that you've started off with a coin, and then you've taught kind of a first other scent or target scent. Like, is there kind of how many scents can a dog then identify? Can you train this? Can you, like, is there a limit to how much you can train? Can you go wild and build up a huge catalogue of scents that your dog can search out for?
The way dogs smell is absolutely incredible. So they can differentiate lots of different scents. So like the part of the brain that processes scent for dogs relative to the size of their brain is 40 times larger than our own. So their ability to memorize and process scent is just far superior than ours. That's not even taking in the rest of the olfactory system, which we'll get to in a wee bit. But yeah, essentially, like, they can differentiate smells. They can. So a lot of trainers would basically what they mix their target scent with something else that would be like a distraction for the dog. Now, this is like high level scent work dogs.
Yeah.
I'm not there. Me and Nico are not there yet. But but the dogs can differentiate. So they can mix, say, if they're searching for like clove oil, they can have clove oil mixed with like other essential oils, and they can still smell the clove oil. It's like, the dog's sense of smell is so powerful that if you they can basically sense. So there's certain dogs that are trained to scent blood, and medical alert dogs as well is all kind of actually part of a similar thing, which I should have mentioned. They can essentially smell a drop of blood in 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools, or like, so one drop in such a vast amount. That's how sensitive their nose would be to a particular smell. Is there a limit to how many scents you can teach them? I don't think so. I haven't encountered that yet. So
it's down to your own patience, probably, as a trainer, a handler, or an owner, whatever you want to call it.
I wouldn't see why there would be, because like they use their sense of smell as their primary sense for exploring the world. So I wouldn't see why there would be a limit to how many different scents they can engage and be trained on. But a lot of the times as well, some people, depending on what scent they use, they do have different context cues for their dog. So like for Nico, search is for catnip and find it is for gun oil. So he knows the 2 different versions. But I could just be overcomplicating things. That's just the way I do it. So
yeah, and I suppose the average pet owner is unlikely to come across this, but you don't want your dog reacting to absolutely everything when you're going out on the street, exactly, as well. Exactly. Like, you know, it's not like, oh, you know, I trained him on, I don't know, chip oil or something, so now every time we walk past the fish and chip shop, he goes crazy or whatever.
To be fair, some dogs do that anyway, because they know that's where sausages come from.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so maybe your dog's already trained in scent detection. Just need to hone in on it. Okay, and you mentioned quite a bit about the nose already, but like, I suppose I want to drill home a little bit. Why is a dog's sense of smell such a powerful tool when it comes to training and enrichment?
Well, I mean, it's like I said, it's their primary sense of exploring the world and experiencing the world. It harks back a lot to their evolution. Check into the Relation episode. Like, so they evolved from wolves, and being a predator species, they rely heavily on their sense of smell in order to be able to detect the location of their prey. So that's one of the main reasons. They use it an awful lot as well in communication between each other. So there are parts of the dog's olfactory system that basically detects pheromones and stuff like that, so that they can understand more about the other dog that they're encountering.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing. And now this the training this on like sounds like a whole load of work, right? To people listening in. So how fun can this be? Like it sounds like for dogs this could be incredible.
Like, from a handler perspective, I think it's so fun because
Mhm.
well, obviously I'm obsessed with scent work because I'm doing a podcast about it. But like, I just think watching our dogs smell and their sniff and the frequency of sniffing and seeing them catching the scent on the air, like I just as a handler, I'm just obsessed with it. I just love watching them go, whoa, I caught the scent, and
Yeah.
you can see them then kind of look. It's kind of like think of like a Geiger meter going the closer they get to it.
Yeah.
But like from a dog's perspective, it allows them to practice um a very, very natural behavior, allows them to
Mhm.
practice in extent a predatory behavior because this is how they explore and seek and find the world, um and it gives them information about the environment. But even as well from like a more nervous or anxious dog perspective, it gives them certain amount of autonomy as well, where they get
Mhm.
to freely explore an area and use their full olfactory senses. So it like it's amazing for them to be able to do this, and then they get to find the smell, which is used. A lot of the time, we see a lot of people like come on hurrying their dogs off scent, but dogs like they just need to spend as long as they can sniffing things because they get so much information about it. So the fact that we have a sport where they're allowed to do this for as long as they want, and then they get an additional reward after they find the thing as well. So whether it's a toy or a bit of food, and then they get to go sniff again. So it cannot be underlined how much fun any of the scent sports. I'm not even just promoting my own scent detection, like any of the scent sports where there's man trailing or tracking, it's incredible. Just getting to watch them explore the world with their noses and actively seek out something in particular. Like,
Yeah, definitely. And like you can see it if you watch dogs, like you mentioned, you know, they get so much more out of their sense of smell than we ever will.
oh yeah,
Because you know they're there and they're sniffing, and like you say, you can tell their Geiger meter is going, and they're smelling and smelling, and you're saying, wow, they're really getting something out of this. Like this is telling them a story.
yeah.
They're
Because
it's
like,
like they're reading like a book or something, you know.
but yeah, because like it's not just like that they're just sniffing something. Like their sense of
Hmm.
smell, like so humans have 6 million olfactory receptors. Dogs have
Hmm.
on average about 300 million. So they can
Wow.
smell
Okay.
at the molecular level.
Yeah.
So like I would love to experience what they smell, but only for like a few seconds because I don't think my brain would be able to comprehend it. And
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't want to smell half the stuff that they're able to smell. Um,
Yeah.
like it's the way that they smell everything, the way their entire brain system is built. Like it is to smell things at the most like literally down to the atom of things. Um,
Mhm.
so like, oh yeah, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm so excited about
Sorry, I kind of sidetracked there, but it's so true. Like I've heard that that dogs can even tell how long you've been away
yeah,
from a room
yeah,
by your the smell dissipating in the air, and
yeah. So
they realize, okay.
we would actually use that in scent work. So each
Mm,
smell, so everything has a smell, even solid objects. They give off a smell through. Gonna get all sciencey here. They give off a smell through a process called sublimation. So
mhm.
basically, it creates almost like a gas or an evaporation. So think of like, so if we use Red Kong, it's you can the rubber smell, we can smell that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but also smells oxidize and they age over time. And
Mhm.
so dogs can actually detect how old or new a smell is, but generally based on the information of a newer smell entering their olfactory system. So a
Mhm.
lot of the time, so dogs have this amazing ability where they can actually, so they can sniff and breathe at the same time. So when they inhale air, some of the air goes to the lungs, and then other parts of the air goes to the olfactory bulb, where they can actually retain the air and still exhale. They can retain the scent and still exhale without exhaling any of the scent.
Mhm.
So when they encounter a fresher version of this scent, they expel the old scent that they don't need, but they usually do that through the little slits on the side of their nose. So
Okay.
if you're ever out and about and you see Ruby sniffing something, Now, and you're going to pay attention to this next time, right? So
Yeah.
she's going to be sniffing something. And you probably already noticed she'll go when
Yeah.
she's sniffing, or like it's like she kind of like snorts or like expelled something. That's her getting rid of old scent because she doesn't need it anymore, because she's found a fresher version of the scent. So she's able to tell that that scent was older because it's oxidized in the air. That
So
scent
it's
is
less
older.
relevant.
It's less relevant than this new scent. This new scent is closer to what I need. And the way dogs
Oh,
sniff, they inhale one breath for like a tenth of a second when they're sniffing,
yeah.
and they can inhale, I think 10 or 15 times or something like that. The way that they sniff, the frequency in which they sniff, they can take in so much in such a short space of time, that when
Yeah.
they're like on like a really good smell, whether it's in a park or doing some scent work, and they're getting fresher stuff, you'll hear them go every few seconds, because like, oh, I don't need this one, I found a new one. Oh, I don't need this one, I found a newer one. It's their entire olfactory system is just incredible. Like, I'm in awe of it. It's an evolutionary marvel.
Yeah, no, it is really really interesting, and like you say, the short little breaths as well. I learned that, and they were comparing it to a dog. Way back years and years and years ago, I was working in hospitality. And I was doing a wine course, and they told us that when you're sniffing a wine, you don't like take in a huge breath and get it down into your lungs, because it's useless to you down there. You don't smell
Yeah,
in your lungs. You're taking small little sniffs like a dog. So
yeah,
you're so right. You know, the frequency that they take small little sniffs, it really helps them to
yeah,
then really
yeah,
understand
yeah,
sense.
exactly.
Yeah,
But whereas the second we stop breathing, we stop smelling.
yeah,
So, like, you make yourself a lovely Sunday roast, you go, oh, that smells great. But the second you've stopped inhaling, there's nothing there. Whereas dogs go, Sunday roast, and they retain that scent while still being able to continue and smell other things. Like,
yeah.
it's incredible.
They're just so much more advanced on that front
Oh,
than
yeah.
we ever will be.
Well,
Yeah.
we're such visual creatures. Everything that we explore, it's we're either using our sense of hearing or our vision to mostly explore the world. Our sense of smell is one of our weakest senses, whereas theirs is their strongest sense. So we always think, oh, my dog can't, like, yourself when you throw treats, like, how can they not see it? But they're not actually looking for it. They're using their nose to triangulate where you've dropped the food.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then when you give dogs this outlet into the world of scent, how does engaging a dog's nose actually like impact their overall mood and their mental health and things like that? Do we see some amazing changes there?
Yeah, so the dog's sense of smell, the olfactory system, is linked to the parasympathetic nervous system. When we talk about fight or flight, that's what we call the sympathetic nervous system, and that's basically responsible for keeping the dog alive in certain situations, whereas the parasympathetic nervous system is responsible for rest and digestion. And so that's the part of the dog's nervous system that basically tells them when to relax, how to relax, what way their food gets digested, controls their rate of breathing, their heart rate, stuff like that. So when we tap into that, we are literally tapping into their relaxation center. And so by doing kind of scent work and stuff like that, and tapping into the parasympathetic nervous system, we see a broader range of them being able to relax because they are far more at ease. So not only as well because they're getting to practice this fun behavior and this natural behavior, but we're literally tapping into a part of their nervous system that tells them genetically to relax.
And maybe I'm taking a big leap of faith here, but could you then say that some scent work might be helpful with some behavioral issues, like anxiety or aggression?
Oh, 100%. Because not only does it gives the dogs a confidence boost because they get to learn a new technique or a new behavior where they're like, oh, I'm good at this. I can do this. I'm getting reward very easily, and I'm having fun, which creates optimism. And I know a lot of trainers we always talk about optimism and stuff like that, but it's so important when we're dealing with dogs that have kind of more anxious dispositions. So it builds confidence that way. It gives them autonomy where they're free to move and explore using their natural sense of smell. So it kind of gives them that little bit of independence away from their handler,
Yeah.
which is so important as well, especially if you're dealing like with dogs that would be a little bit more kind of anxious to be away from their handler, or dogs that are a little bit more anxious of what's in the environment. And so whether it's reactivity or separation stuff, it can really help that way. And then plus as well, because we're using their sense of smell, and it takes so much brain power to work that. So not only are we tapping into parasympathetic nervous system, we're giving them kind of outlets for their natural behavior, building their confidence, but we're also like, it takes so much brain power to process all the different smells and scents. So like, if I send Nico to search for some gun oil, he's not just smelling gun oil, he's smelling everything that's in the environment. And his brain has to work to tell him what's useful and what's not useful. So like 20 minutes of scent work is as good as an hour of walking in terms of the brain power that they would use. So in that regard as well, it helps them relax and fulfills their daily needs for enrichment very, very simply, to be honest.
And I was going to say enrichment. I think it's important in this point to kind of revisit what enrichment actually is. And, you know, it's important that people know that enrichment isn't just one thing, that enrichment is living an enriching life. And if that means using some of the senses that that they were born or that they have evolved to have and to be able to use, that's all part of living an enriching life for a dog, really, isn't it? And I'm sure it can really help tire dogs out mentally as well, as well as physically.
Yeah, so there's like, there's a flip side to everything, we're enriching, and like you said, the key word there is enrichment. If it's not enriching our dogs' lives, then it's not enrichment. And a lot of the times, like, it's great to have stuff that keeps our dogs occupied, because, we are living in a very busy world and we don't always have the time that we would like for our dogs. So giving them these outlets for stuff is great to keep them occupied when we're not able to entertain them. And they are quite like, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do now? They are quite like that. So having different things to be able to give them is great, but giving them things that also, like you said, enrich their lives, has a deeper purpose, is just as important as well. So being able to give them that outlet is like, it's, especially if we have dogs with behavior issues, it cannot be underlined enough times how important that this could be for their well-being, being able to use that very, like, it's an innate instinct to smell and sniff and explore the world with their nose. So to be able to channel that into an activity that we can do together as well, it can't be underlined enough how enriching that actually is for them overall.
Definitely. And I know I asked specifically about, I suppose, anxiety cases and aggression cases, but maybe looking at it more broadly, would you recommend kind of scent detection for all types of dogs? Are there specific other cases that I've kind of missed out on? Because I know I kind of pigeonholed everything now around anxiety and aggression. So maybe more broadly, like, who would you recommend, scent detection for?
Everyone. It's not self-serving at all that I teach scent detection, but no, I would literally recommend this. Like, there's no such thing as my dog's too old. There's no such thing as my dog's too small. No such thing as my dog's too big or he doesn't want to do that. Every dog can do it, because every dog has an innate need and urge to explore and scent the world around them. So like one of my older dogs, she was a little Ruby Cavalier. Tiny little dog, little squishy face on her, and she loved it. Now, she was not to the level that Nico would be at, but she loved, so we would do just little searches around the house with Ham, and that was her, like, we don't need to be going out and training like this super strong indication and going to the airport and going, look, I'm going to catch all these people importing rashers from the wrong country. It can be done so simply, just in the house, in your back garden, even just using food, just teaching your dog how to search for the food, and it just offers them that outlet. And like I said, like Daisy, she was a little Cavalier, God love her. She was like an Etch-a-Sketch dog. She shook her head, she erased everything that she knew, and she still loved scent work. Your dog doesn't need to be a super high drive working dog, but if they are a super high drive working dog, it's a fantastic outlet to burn off some of that energy.
Brilliant. And could we then say that it's suitable then for all breeds, ages and sizes of dog?
Yeah, I've never encountered a age-sized dog breed that didn't love it. Like, you know?
Scent detections for everyone.
Scent detections for everyone.
Very good. And do you see any particular changes in dogs' behavior? And I suppose it's a real generalization here, but do you see any changes in behavior when you're consistently doing scent training sessions with dogs?
Yeah, well, because we're, like I said, we're kind of tapping into the parasympathetic nervous system. It does make them more relaxed because they're getting to explore that part of their nature a little bit more. And because they're a little bit less wound up or less frustrated because they're getting to explore more natural behaviors as well. So we do actually see them in general become a lot more relaxed a lot of the time. So like currently Nico actually has a bit of an injury on his front paw, so we're focusing only on scent work for this week because I can't walk him without exasperating his injury anymore. So we're literally just doing scent work every evening. And he is absolutely flaked after doing about 2-3 rounds of it. He's like, I can't do any more because I am absolutely wiped. So like overall, we do see them being able to relax a lot more and kind of just being a little bit more optimistic about the world because, again, they're finding success with something that comes so naturally to them.
Definitely. And you mentioned something interesting there as well, that you're doing it every day. So are there ideal amounts of time that people need to dedicate to this? How many times per day or per week is ideal for this kind of enriching activity?
I never like to tell people that they have to do stuff every day because, like, realistically, you know, it's easier for me to be doing it every day this week because I'm not walking Nico.
Sure.
You know, so that's kind of our walk time is taken up with doing more activities. Generally, and this kind of goes for all training, I like to do everything in kind of kettle sessions, which is where I fill up the kettle, I boil the kettle, and we do training while it's boiling. And then when it's finished boiling, we're done. And like, but like for scent work, it generally takes about 3 to 4 minutes for a full kettle to boil. For scent work, it can take 3 to 4 minutes for your dog to find one hide. So really, but I wouldn't really say everyone has to do it every day. But like if you're enjoying it and your dog's enjoying it and you have the time, I wouldn't see why you wouldn't want to participate. Unless, of course, it's lashing rain and you don't want to do anything outside. But otherwise, you know, I would do it as often as you can. As long as you're having fun, keep doing it.
And you could probably do a little bit in the house as well, could you?
Yeah, it doesn't even need to be like, it doesn't even need to be anything like fancy. Like I said with Daisy, like we just would hide a bit of ham around the house and she'd go looking for that, you know, and because she was small, so it wasn't anything high, it was everything always at floor level. So there was no risk of me forgetting where I put the ham and her not finding it and it going off, you know, that way.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be like this, like, oh, look at me in my training videos online that like I would do with Nico. Like, I'm kind of showing off sometimes when I post up some of those videos. Like, look at his indication, he's so good. It doesn't have to be like that. You can just be hiding food. You can be using a snuffle mat. You can be hiding, if you fill up a Kong, hide the Kong somewhere in the house and teach your dog how to go search for it. Like, it doesn't have to be fancy. It's just offering an outlet for your dog to be able to practice these behaviors. And then you kind of get to see them explore as well and kind of nerd out over how great their sense of smell is, just like I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you're saying that, you know, that it's kind of accessible to everyone and to different degrees and you can get into it as much as you want. And I think it's a lovely tool to have in your arsenal as well, to have that in your toolbox, you know, because there might be a time, even for just a couple of days or a couple of weeks, where the dog can't do zoomies either because of themselves or because of you, you know, say you break a toe or whatever it is. And you might not be able to do that, so that you might give yourself some more options of, you know, giving your dog an outlet as well and stop them going crazy and driving you crazy at the same time at home. So I think it's great to have kind of these options.
Yeah,
as well.
exactly. Like I said, like with Nico, he's dealing with a bit of an injury this week. Now it's nothing major. It's just I just don't want him exasperating it anymore. So we're kind of giving walks a break for a few days, and instead of doing walks, we're doing scent work. And it's still giving him that freedom to explore and use his nose, and with very low impact as well. So like one of my older guys, Milo has quite bad arthritis in his front paws, so he's quite limited with exercise as well. So we would use an awful lot of scent-based activities to kind of give him an outlet, enrich his life, and kind of occupy his mind a little bit as well. Like, you know, like ourselves, you have to keep your brain occupied, especially for older dogs, like where you have canine cognitive dysfunction.
Yeah.
Giving them puzzles and things to solve and being able to process all the sense in the environment offers him outlets in order to kind of keep his grey cells working, so to speak.
And I suppose with arthritis as well, it's great to have, you know, that he's probably still going through quite a range of motion, but just at a slower pace and probably not high impact. You know,
Yeah.
if he's kind of bending down to sniff something or stretching out to, you know, like just different range of motion that he might get
exactly.
from.
And like if you're working like with a dog that has mobility issues that way, you can always tailor everything to suit. Like I said, with Daisy, she was a little dog, so all of her hides were always quite low. With
Yeah.
Milo, he actually finds stooping low quite difficult, so all of our hides kind of will be at his head height, so that he
Yeah.
doesn't have to bend down or act like that to find anything. So you can, like with scent work, because there's no like strict rule of where the hides have to be unless you're in competition, which we're not doing because we're only you know, messing about in our back garden. So that we can have everything a little bit more accessible for our dogs, in that regard. And even as well for ourselves, like if you've got a bad back, you don't want to be bending low to hide something, or stretching too. Like, so there's no real set rules. Like it can be accessible for ourselves. Like if we've got mobility issues, we can kind of alter the games as well to kind of suit ourselves while we're hiding stuff for our dogs as well.
Yeah, it's amazing to have that flexibility, and like I was saying earlier, you never know what's coming down the line.
Exactly.
So it's brilliant just to have some extra tools that you can kind of adapt then as well to work for your situation.
Yeah.
And now it's very, very clear to me why you would do train some scent detection. Where can listeners go to learn more or to even try out some scent training with their own dogs?
Well, so I'm going to plug myself first. So
Absolutely.
anyone can just drop me a line on Instagram, or my email address is available on our website, www.polarisdog.training. And depending on where you are in the country, I'll find someone that can do the scent work for you. In Dublin, there's a few trainers in Dublin that do it. But of course, I'm going to promote myself first.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of books online, and there's like a lot of pet dog scent courses available as well that aren't that expensive. A lot of them would be in the UK, so UK Sniffer Dogs actually do a very accessible online course as well, which would be following a lot of the rules and the scent that I would use as well. So they would use like a lot of the Red Kong and stuff like that. And I've actually done some of their courses. It's where I learned how to do tracking. So I'm plugging another trainer here. But and then there's another really good book as well called Scent Training. I think Scent Training for All Dogs by Rob Hewings, which is available. I think it's on Amazon, and he's really good. So he's part of the UK College for Scent Detection, and he's a former operations dog handler for the Met Police. So like he really knows the shit when it comes to scent training. That is an amazing read and kind of teach you everything, the little facets of scent detection as well. Or you can just email me and we'll
Exactly.
I'll get the training.
Don't worry, Darina, we'll definitely get your details into the show notes as well, so that people can get directly in touch with you. I definitely think it's something well worthwhile for loads of people to look into. So thank you for coming on and sharing so much about it. Appreciate it as always, and hope to speak with you again soon.
Yeah,
thank you so much
for having me. Bye.
Thank you. And once again, a huge thank you to Darina for coming on and sharing such valuable knowledge with us this week on the podcast episode. We would be delighted if you would go and check out what Darina gets up to at Polaris Dog Training. So we've added the social media handles and her website as well in the show notes. Equally, we've added links to our websites, Ruby Reese and to dognutrition.ie, where you can find out what Killian gets up to on a day-to-day basis outside of this podcast as well. We are delighted with how this podcast is growing, and we would love to reach a broader audience of people that are really interested in learning a little bit more about how their dogs tick. So please, please, please continue to share these episodes with your friends when you find that they have some value for them. It's so appreciated, and we love that more and more people are getting into lifelong learning in and around their dogs. Have a lovely week, and we'll be back to you with another episode next week.